Hello and welcome to another episode of Flow Lounge, coming to you most definitely not live but very direct from the Bicycles Online HQ here in Sydney, conveniently located as it happens to be at the junction of some of our very favourite trail networks. Thank you guys. Now the reason we're here this afternoon is not for the free coffee or for the novelty bike-shaped bottle opener, though we do appreciate it. It's because we want to talk about the re-arrival of Marin Bikes here in Australia. We're always very excited to see a brand come to Australia, or in this case re-emerge. It always speaks volumes about the strength of the industry here, and so it's really, really cool to see. Marin Bikes, of course, have a very long heritage in mountain biking. Marin County in California is widely regarded as the birthplace of mountain biking back in the era when flares were still considered appropriate cycling attire, though many a single speeder would probably argue that they still are, and when helmets were for soft cocks. One of our favourite bikes from the 2019 Marin range is the Bear Valley, which has some really out-of-the-box thinking. If you look at this frame profile, you'd probably think that it's made from carbon, but in fact it's actually constructed from water pipe, which is a far stronger material and will leave carbon for dead in the durability stakes. While a 95-degree head angle ensures excellent handling around those tight switchbacks, large four-fingered brake levers are totally enduro spec for reducing fatigue on those long descents, whilst the cantilever brakes ensure maximum cornering speed. If you take a look at the drivetrain, it's running oval-shaped rings, which of course is up to speed, and it has two spare ones. The gear range is 957%, which leaves SRAM Eagle for dead. While we might bang on a lot about the heritage of Marin, let's not forget they have some seriously up-to-date and cutting-edge bikes. We're going to pick the eyes out of it and have a look at some of the highlights here today and some of the bikes that we're hoping to be reviewing over the coming months, including the Wolf Ridge, the Rift Zone and the Four Corners. Now this wild-looking beast, the Wolf Ridge 8, is probably the pick of the bunch as far as we're concerned. It's 160mm travel, 29er. That uses the same suspension system as was found on the Polygon Square 1 that we reviewed last year, which absolutely blew our mind. It's a really unconventional approach to suspension, but it works so damn well. When we rode that bike last year, we were blown away by how fast it was and how much grip it had, both climbing and descending. We couldn't believe what we could get up considering it was such a long travel bike. It had 180mm of travel. Now we think this bike is going to be even more popular. It seems to have a better balance with 160mm of travel with 29-inch wheels. It's a little bit less travel to tame. Then you've also got the 29-inch wheels, so you've got that increased rollover ability that you don't get with the 275 wheels that were found on the Polygon. So we reckon this bike is going to be absolutely in the sweet spot. We are frothing to get some trail time on this bike, which is why we're going to be securing it for a long-term test and riding the pants off it for quite a few months. While everyone likes a wild-looking carbon beast, sometimes practicality has to win out, and that's where the Rift Zone 3 is a fantastic bike in our opinion. At less than $3,000, it represents a really solid trail bike for the money. Aluminium frame, 120mm of travel, rolling on 29-inch wheels. That is pretty much your bread and butter trail bike for most trails in Australia. We think it's going to tick most boxes. The geometry is really cool as well. It's quite an aggressive bike, a 50mm stem, reasonably slack, with a decent length reach as well. So it's certainly in the new school when it comes to the geometry for a 120mm travel trail bike. Yeah, we think this one is going to be a really big seller for Marin. Bicycles Online, of course, are not the only online retailer in Australia. We're starting to see a lot more direct-to-consumer models here in the country, especially with some of the big international players starting to make their way into the Australian market as well. Mountain bikers in Australia are still getting used to the idea of having their bike shipped to them in a box and what that means. There are lots of concerns. People want to know what happens if it sucks, what happens if it broke, what happens if it's not put together properly, and what happens if I don't know how to assemble it and I completely stuff it up. So there's plenty of questions. Bicycles Online with Marin are trying to solve a few of those dramas. One, you get a 14-day test ride period. So if you get the bike, you take it out on the trails and you decide it's not for you, for whatever reason, no worries, send it back. Now that's some pretty cool peace of mind. When it comes to the construction of your bike, you can rest assured that it wasn't thrown together by Darren Drinks-A-Lot on a Friday afternoon right before he ducks off to the Terry Hills Tavern for some bingo. Every single Marin bike that is sold in Australia through Bicycles Online gets their pro build treatment. That means that it doesn't just come straight off the production line with all the other bikes, it actually gets one-on-one attention with a single mechanic, making sure that everything is totally dialed before it is put into the box and shipped to you. I can almost hear you from here. People screaming, stay away from that thing, what is it, don't touch it, it might infect you. And we know that a lot of people out there in Flowland don't necessarily like this style of bike, but to be honest, I kind of do. The Four Corners is Marin's absolute bike packing machine. It's a 700C wheel with 42mm tyres, a steel frame, triple chainring up the front so you can pedal all day and climb anything, bottle mounts and rack mounts up the wazoo so you can take everything that you need to go and do a long overnighter. We think this is actually a really cool style of riding. If you haven't tried it out, we suggest you do before you go knocking it. It is a really relaxing way to spend some time on the bike. It's not about razzing corners or going fast or racing your mates. It's about enjoying your time on the bike, and there is never anything wrong with that.